Welcome, Egyptian aliens, mind-controlled servants, and trigger-happy bureaucrats, to episode 471 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 3rd of January 2023, and featuring K9 Curse of Anubis, written by Jim Noble and starring Philippa Coulthard as Georgie Turner, Keegan Joyce as Starkey, Daniel Weber as Darius Pike, Robert Maloney as Professor Alastair Griffin, and John Leeson as the voice of K9. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and with me are co-host Randy Ronson McCulloch
Good evening, everybody.
and technical director Mad Matt Winchell.
The rumors of my death are highly exaggerated.
Alex Fireheart is not with us. They've got the COVID and hopefully will be recovering well. And yeah, it's been a while since we streamed because we are having some difficulties gathering a cast of 3 or more, but hopefully the next month will not be as bad.
So far,
Hopefully.
so far with my work schedule, actually next week is really weird because I got like 5 days off in a row. But I'm thinking, from what I've been overhearing, that might be that they're trying to like rapid fire, bring in and test new candidates for coworkers.
So be prepared to cover shifts of no-shows.
Possibly. Is what my thought is that there'll be probably the like 4 or 5 of us that noticed that we had really weird slacking schedules where we're probably going to be like the immediate on-call people
Mm-hmm.
given the hour.
But nice of them to tell you that.
Yeah, it would be, but of course, just no word, and you're working only 2 days this week. What? Well, then they better not plan any last-minute things on Tuesday or Wednesday because I'm not going to reply to those. You're on your own. You should have thought that before you made this schedule. But otherwise, yeah. So far, the 3 Tuesdays I have on this list, I'll be updating it tomorrow. Are all open. That includes today, so we'll see what the 24th looks like in a couple days here. Other than that, I've worked every holiday now except for frickin' Christmas Eve.
I remember I was never allowed to. You were allowed to pick 2 out of the 4 holiday days that you could work. And mind you, we got paid extra on those days. So
yeah, it's time and a half for the 3 holiday days I've worked: New Year's Eve, New Year's, and Christmas Day.
oh no, it was more than that for us because they weren't on our normal schedule, so it was overtime plus time and a half.
Jeez, I wish. No, they try their damnedest to make sure you don't get overtime around here.
There were years I definitely would have wished for that because generally what happened on holidays were either A, you just had 1 or 2 fewer days on your schedule, or B, you had to make it up on another day that you didn't normally work when I was on salary. And neither of those are great options.
No, I was hourly. So no, it was they that was their offer is we don't usually have it scheduled for that, so this is time and a half plus overtime, but you can only work 2 out of the 4 days. And to be honest, those were 2 of the easiest frickin' shifts. Because I would always choose to work Christmas Eve and New Year's Day. Well, you get a few calls Christmas night, people trying to set stuff up and it not working, but those were simple calls. And you maybe got 3 of them. The rest of the night, you're sitting there watching movies. I would usually bring a buttload of Christmas movies.
That was when you worked for the university, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine most, like, because usually, like, dorms and shit are all empty those sort of, around that time of year. So I imagine
Correct.
it would be, Yeah, I imagine there wouldn't be many people even making use of the service at all.
Well, remember, we weren't just students. We also did faculty and staff.
Hmm.
So there were always some faculty and staff that were trying to, you know, get the dial-up to work on a new computer for their kids or something like that,
Gotcha.
and would have to walk them through that. But like I said, 3 calls in one night is not bad.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, I'm sitting there watching, like, old black and white, like, Christmas movies, and usually munching on Chinese if I couldn't find a place that had hot wings open.
Mm.
And that was my night. New Year's was even deader because, well, everybody had gotten drunk, passed out, and nobody was doing anything on
Hmm.
New Year's
Yep.
but nursing
Talking
their hangovers.
talking about Chinese, because we had there was that big like cold spell, whatever the fuck it's called, right before Christmas. So I didn't want to order Instacart. So I was sitting there Christmas Day with nothing in my fridge, nothing in my cabinets. I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna eat? And then I saw a post basically about like it was a meme about it was a Chinese restaurant saying we don't understand the customs of Jewish people, but thank you for all ordering Chinese on or ordering our food on Christmas. And I was like, oh yeah, Chinese places are open. So then I
Yep.
had some Chinese on Christmas.
Yep,
You pulled the Christmas story.
yep. That was the year we were introduced to Chinese turkey. But no, this was the night before, so sometimes I would have Chinese, sometimes I would get a curry, and sometimes I would find one place that was still open that still served buffalo wings.
Mm.
Somebody was trying to take advantage of the Christmas Eve crowds. Like Pizza Hut or somebody was trying to do that.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
But either way, it was one of the most relaxing nights we had. And New Year's Day was the most relaxing night we had.
Honestly, the holiday nights were not that bad. We got through stuff pretty quickly for the most part. It's been some of the stuff that's come after that's been pulling our hair.
I believe that. But yeah, I think the worst position to be in those sort of holidays, I think, is an EMT or a doctor.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, most jobs it's probably pretty smooth.
Most jobs, at the very least, is middle of the road.
Yeah.
That being said, visiting my extended family on Christmas Eve and on our way back trying to find anything to eat at 5 p.m. is apparently pulling teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Why does everything close at 5 p.m.? I can understand 6, maybe even pushing it to 7, but 5?
Because people want to get home to their families by 6 p.m. for Christmas dinner.
Well, by that point, it's already too late.
Depends on how far you got to go.
But yeah, our Christmas Eve dinner consisted of, funny enough, on our way out of town, quick trip food. Yeah. So I had 2 double burgers and I believe a bowl of soup.
Mm.
Our wild rice and chicken is pretty decent.
You guys do broccoli and cheese?
I'm not sure. There is one with broccoli for sure, though, I think.
It was always a weakness of mine in soups.
Mm.
I used to walk into Quiznos. It's like, I want broccoli and cheese.
If not in like a pre-prepared soup, I believe the fresh case should usually have that in stock. But anywho, outside of that, I finished getting Christmas gifts at the moment, at least. Spent the Christmas card I got from for Amazon on the Legend of Zelda SNES comic book run.
I remember that run.
I vaguely remember seeing one issue of it. So
Because
as
they
I was
put it
paging
in
through it, I
Nintendo
saw it. I
Power.
went, "Oh yeah." What else did I get? Oh, I got Castlevania Season 3. I got Dr. Mordred. And I got Jelly Babies. Speaking of which, the bag is still over here.
Yeah, Castlevania Season 3 is one I haven't watched. I
Yeah,
keep trying to watch it and I keep losing interest.
I have to. I have not yet seen 3 or 4 yet, and apparently all of it's on DVD, which is a rarity for Netflix series for it all to be on physical.
Well, I expect Cyberpunk Edge Runners will come out on DVD too.
Mm-hmm. As far as I'm
Probably
aware,
on
they're planning that to be
PS4.
a one-season thing too. Sadly,
What's that?
if I understand, they're planning that to be a one-season thing only too. Sadly.
Yep. Very sadly, that was a very good series.
Mm-hmm. The general gist I keep hearing from pretty much everybody. If nothing else, it's sold people on coming back to the video game.
Which they've been retooling. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And is probably the sole reason that they're going to actually make a sequel to that game.
Yeah, is that the anime resold the game again, and the game might actually finally do enough a year or two later to actually warrant itself to continue.
Hopefully they test this one before it goes public.
We'll see. Honestly, I think that the entire problem with the thing is that it's a rush job, which does sadly tend to happen.
Speaking of games that are rush jobs, I've finished my Pokemon Violet Nuzlocke and started a casual playthrough. I've noticed that while I didn't really experience any bugs during my Nuzlocke, I'm starting to think the bigger your save file is, the more bugs you experience, because this time, of course, I'm actually trying to catch all the Pokemon, and I'm experiencing 10 times as many bugs as I did during the Nuzlocke, which only has about 30 encounters in it.
Yeah,
So
if I'm understanding what little I have heard on the technical side of things is that the new Pokemon games have where their bugs are coming from is that they have memory leaks the size of manhole covers.
yeah, memory leak definitely, but even then, like I've been taking the same precautions, like restarting the game from time to time. But it's a completely different experience in terms of bugs compared to my first playthrough.
Yeah, that's because you're hitting all the extra memory stuff that you need to keep bringing up, which then causes more of those manholes to get tripped over.
Right.
So you're saying that it has memory holes larger than the snowplow that ran over Jeremy Renner.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds about right. All right.
Yeah,
Anything
I
else
think I'll
anybody
wait
want?
until they
Oh.
patch that before buying one.
Anything else anybody wants to talk about before we go on to tonight's show?
We were a little bit late because I was actually back into playing Rust again.
Yeah, we noticed that.
I have not
Well,
touched...
I've been wobbling in and out of the hospital for the last month.
Ooh.
I kept telling them there was fluid on me, and they kept not believing me.
They're
And
believing you now?
finally last week, I called my cardiologist and talked to my cardiologist for like 2 hours. And he's eventually like, "Yeah, come on in. We'll get a place for you up here." And yeah, they came in and they did some stuff. It's like, holy shit, there's a lot of fluid on you. I'm like, duh.
No shit, Sherlock. Lord.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with certain people, but what can I do?
You are where you are, at least.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. This is. I'm back into Rust. It's been since the early alpha after they got rid of zombies that I've played. I found a quiet server where I'm actually getting achievements done and stuff, and I was trying to get a truck to my base, but I ran out of gas at the base of the hill. But there's no one else on the server when I left, so I'm like, please just remain quiet and I'll pick it up in a little bit. And hopefully with sunlight. That or I'm making his own garage at the base of the hill, one of the two.
All right. So, on tonight's show, we've got news, some geek talk, a review of Shame, our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. Starting out with birthdays, we'd like to wish happy birthday to anybody in the Doctor Who alumni or production that had a birthday over the last month. Normally, we would shout these out by name, but because it's been so long since we've been on, the list became so long, we'd be here all night listing the ones that deserve it.
I was adding the January names, and I just watched you delete the whole list. I was like, why?
Yeah, I was like, I got to counting those. I'm like, can I pare any of these out? And I looked at it as like, no.
I had already skipped a bunch that we normally would have covered, like one-off Time Lords and such.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is just too many names. So I just put this, and we apologize if you're looking forward to us listing birthdays. We'll do it. We'll get back to the normal procedure next time.
As long as
We
it's
we,
also
we,
not another month.
we would have needed Yakko to get through that whole list in time.
Yes. So we go from that to Lost Stories. Bill? I believe you added these?
Yes. Yes, so we actually have three over the course of the past month. First off, the Vision Mixer responsible for creating the regeneration effect from the first to the second Doctor, Shirley Coward, was reported dead at the age of 88 on December 10th. At the time, the Vision Mixer was the person who switched from one camera to another during the filming process. Coward took advantage of a malfunctioning bank on her mixing desk to create an intentional distortion that we now know as the regeneration effect. Coward worked on at least 44 episodes of Doctor Who over 30 years, including The Five Doctors, and 40 other productions, including Blake 7 and EastEnders. Her cause of death is not reported, which is unsurprising at the age of 88.
Yeah, we can honestly safely assume at that age it's probably natural causes.
Right.
Yeah, usually once you hit 80, they don't bother telling you anymore.
Right. Next is, I believe the name, I know we've had this conversation in the past, but I don't think we came to an answer. I believe it's pronounced Chris Boucher, or it might be Boucher. The writer of 3 Leela serials has died at the age of 79 on December 11th. Boucher wrote The Face of Evil, The Robots of Death, and Image of the Fendal, before going on to become the script editor for Blake 7, thanks to a recommendation by Doctor Who script editor Robert Holmes. He later created the show Star Cops in 1987. And according to Doctor Who News, Boucher was the last surviving writer from 70s Who, so only the 1980s and onward have surviving writers at this point. And finally, actor Stephen Grief has died at the age of 78 on Friday the 23rd. Grief played Gurney in The Infinite Quest, the animated story, as well as working on multiple Big Finish ranges, including playing the recurring character Sir Donald Wakefield in 4 Sarah Jane Smith audios. Grief was well known for his stage career, as well as acting in many shows, including Blake 7. He also, yeah, actually, all 3 of them uh, have Blake 7 history. So sad month for Blake 7 as well.
Mm-hmm.
He also won multiple awards for his narrating the children's book The Boy with the Magic Numbers in 2003.
All right. Well, this will take us into regular news. Russell T is making sure to keep excitement over the new Doctor Who alive with a teaser trailer that was posted on Christmas.
Oh yeah, I made sure to watch that really quick before we hopped on. By the way, please be this good. Please be this good.
Yep, and as is often the case with these teaser trailers, Cultbox was nice enough to take a ton of screenshots of it.
Tennant has definitely aged, but he's still looking pretty good, to be fair.
You notice his hair is darker than it used to be.
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a shade or two, but I noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
I think he's also intentionally lit to make him look haggard. Like they're definitely lighting him differently than they were in the past, and I don't know if I'm sure that has something to do with this how the story is going, but
maybe
it's like they're lighting him, to look like a father of however many he is, rather than to flatter him.
yeah, if you look at the one where he's wearing glasses, he looks, you can see bags under his eyes.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Regenerating with 5 o'clock shadow.
And of course, the big reveal that this trailer had is who we're going to see. And we are all pretty sure that that's Beep the Meep.
Mm-hmm.
A character from
yeah.
Doctor Who comics and audio.
Yes.
That is now being fully canonized.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
I know a lot of people had, or at least probably more likely a vocal minority, had the opinion that the 60th was just going to be a Remember the 10th Doctor special rather than a celebration of Doctor Who. Pretty sure Beep the Meep predates the 10th Doctor, right?
Oh yeah,
that's
like
classic Who era.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What era?
Classic Who era. That was like 80s.
Yeah, that was like 6th Doctor era.
Mm-hmm. That was 80s, although Beep the Meep in the comic books appears during the 4th Doctor era.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yes. Tom Baker's Doctor met the Beep, I believe, in one of his first issues, at least American side. Or at least something very close to it.
Now, if you look at that thing, he looks adorable.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what Beep the Meep is supposed to look like. He's supposed to look cute and cuddly, and he's probably one of the most evil minds in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm wondering why the evil, demonic common rider-looking guys are after him.
The Rorth Warriors. I think that's actually also from the comics.
Are they now?
I know I had
maybe they've
seen,
been updated a bit.
I forget if I looked it up or if I had just seen it in another article breaking down the trailer, but I think they're basically supposed to be like basically space cops that chase after Beep the Meep.
As long as they don't sound like the cops from K9.
What's all they said?
That would be awful.
Looks like we got you now, Study Jim. Yeah, no.
Lordy.
Another, I don't know if reveal is the right term, but they start the trailer off talking about the whole, Donna can't remember the doctor or she'll die thing. So they very much did not
remember
forget
canon.
that plot point.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it seems like Donna is likely going to be interacting with the doctor a good deal. So they're going to have to go get around that in some way.
Yeah, they're risking it.
Also, apparently, one or two people just like posted something on social media about how like the skinny man label made them uncomfortable because sometimes people use that as a pejorative, and of course, this being the era of clickbait, people needed to write news articles about how they were trying to cancel RTD for saying skinny man in the trailer, and nobody's trying to cancel RTD, at least not for that.
No, and it is something that Donna referred to the doctor as.
Yes.
Yes.
Because he is a very tall, lanky, skinny guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know a name, you at least go by defining traits.
Right.
And that's probably one of his more defining ones.
If you are having dreams of David Tennant and you didn't know anything else about him, that is a reasonable label to remember him by.
Mm-hmm.
And then further down, you see Neil Patrick Harris playing a comic book villain.
Mm-hmm.
Scrolling. Ah, yes, the top hat.
Well, now you look down at the next one. You see him in the top hat, and then you see him.
Lots of rose petals.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the one after that, he looks like he's trying to be the 11th Doctor.
Actually, I think the one with the top hat makes him look like the 11th Doctor. I first saw that picture. Like, is that Matt Smith? Then I took closer. No, that's Neil Patrick Harris.
Well, the third one there, he is in a bow tie. The only thing missing is a tweed jacket.
I mean, in the first one, he's also in a bow tie.
Yeah, it's just white bow tie.
Again, the only thing missing from the third one is the tweed jacket, and he's got the complete look again. I don't know.
Yeah, but in the second one, he's freaking dressed like Sergeant Pepper.
Whatever he is, he's a villain that can't stay in one outfit.
Yeah. And by his antics, he looks a little bit Jim Carrey.
Almost.
Yeah, so that either means he's going to be running off screen to change a lot, or he's going along with the toy maker rumors, somebody with the power to just change his appearance at will.
Possibility.
Then again, I think in every episode the Master's been in the past couple of years, he's had just as many costumes per episode.
Well, you know the Master. He's got dressed for the occasion.
Okay, is there anything more we need to say about those pictures?
I don't think so.
Okay, moving on. So Russell T Davies himself hasn't been quiet either, saying that while there was no special this year, you're going to be staggered by the surprises they've got in store for next year. Now, as we know, the David Tennant trilogy will be running during the month of Nakuti Gatwa's premiere is going to be during the holiday season in December. Russell himself seems to be hinting they're bringing it back to Christmas Day, calling it a tradition and basically giving Chibnall the middle finger for moving it to New Year's.
I'm fine with this plan.
But yeah, so it sounds like we're getting 4 episodes next year instead of 3.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Mm-hmm. I'm fine with this plan.
And that might mean that we're starting the Doctor Who season is getting kicked off like that. And that will start the year with the running of the special or the new season. Which would be nice.
Like Spyfall?
Yeah, like Spyfall, like they did with Spyfall. And I am hoping, I'm hoping for good things out of this. We'll see. But so apparently they have much planned for the last two months of 2023, which we are now actually in now. I keep forgetting that.
Wow. We're 3 days into it.
Yeah. Well, I've spent those 3 days in a hospital where everything just kind of blends together. Also, in the news, filming has started for the new season. With new director Dylan Holmes Williams.
Okay.
Trying to see if
I think I'm on the same wavelength as you. Who is this person?
yeah. I don't see if he's ever actually directed anything before.
IMDb. Nothing I'm aware of, but he does have a list. 9 previous things.
That he was director of, or?
Director, yeah.
Okay.
Director,
So
Lick, Burning Up the Leaves, Nightmare on Deskteeth Street, 4 a.m. Huntar, Banffy Never Really Cared, The Devil's Harmony, Stilts, Ash, Confessions in the Pool, and Servant.
Okay.
Looks like they're all listed as either shorts or music videos.
TV series, one of them.
Oh, yes,
one.
That's right. The newest one. Okay.
So he's done some directing, but this will be his first time directing science fiction in general and Doctor Who in particular.
In Doctor Who in particular. Okay, yeah, that last one is a short TV series that he made for Apple TV.
All right.
Involves Shyamalan.
And then also to keep interest up, they did reveal Gatwa and Companion's new costumes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken a look at them. And they're fairly sedate. All things considered for the modern Doctor.
Nothing crazy, but nothing outlandishly terrible about it either. So it's like, okay.
Got
it's dealable.
The Blade t-shirt look going on.
Yeah, the t-shirt's a little bit different. I would have expected, a dress shirt, but he seems to be pulling it off well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know who does a t-shirt under tweed. And then Millie Gibson's costume is pretty standard female companion-y.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very clearly modern day.
Yep.
which we might have known that already, but this definitely confirms it if we didn't.
So those are the costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Get used to them. And on another little piece of news, Mark Tonderai, who had directed The Ghost Monument and Rosa, will be returning to direct an episode in the upcoming season. What episode? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
This was again caught by checking Millie Gibson's CV and noticing that Mark Tonderai was listed as a director.
I'm fine with this. I don't think direction was any of the issues I had with anything on that season, to be fair. Maybe writing? But not directing that I can recall.
Assuming that the director had no say in the design of the TARDIS interior. Because I think that was our one complaint about the Ghost Monument was the TARDIS interior.
Yeah, that I'm pretty sure he didn't. I'm pretty sure that was the designers.
The designers, the producers, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. If it was a movie director, he would have, but not usually a TV director.
Okay. Quick aside, quick poll. Of the three eras we've had, Russell T, Stephen Moffat, and Chibnall, who had the best TARDIS interior?
I can tell you which one's the worst.
I feel like Moffat had several TARDIS interiors, didn't he?
He had two. One was a simple redress, so that doesn't count. They just changed the color of the lights and added a few more cabinets. But it was the same functional set. Russell T only had one, and that was the
Coral.
You know, the worn down rust look.
The one referred to as the steampunk console.
Although I would have given that more to Moffat's first one.
Ah.
Yeah, that was Moffat's first one with the 11th. No, I believe they actually in canon call it the Coral.
Yeah, the Coral desktop, as it was said.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you picked the Coral desktop. Don't like it.
Then you had the one that they had throughout the entire Amy and Rory era.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that had the glass floor and then the second layer underneath.
Mm-hmm. A bunch of steampunky things attached to things.
Yep. Then Moffat switched to the gray metal, almost retro look. And then Chibnall changed it to crystal. So, of those, which do you think was the best?
I've got a few Google search results in front of me now, and unfortunately a lot of it's fan recreations, but from what I'm seeing looking at it, I think the 12th Doctor is the console, or is the console room that I prefer looking at the options in front of me.
Okay, so that would be the retro, yeah.
Yeah, the retro one. And honestly, I have to agree with that too, that I think the retro one is probably the better of them. With
and
the
then
Coral
on
being
that,
a close second.
All in agreement.
Yeah.
Got the round things.
Well, technically it had the round things. They were just surrounded by hex things. I know, because the 12th Doctor pulls a bottle of whiskey out of one of them.
Well, that always bugged me about, what was it? Was that the 50th special? Where they asked what are those things for anyways?
Yeah.
That made me
Um,
go. What do you mean? What are those things for? You know exactly
That
what they were for. The
that
Sixth Doctor was
that
pulling stuff
that,
out of
that
them.
that's what I was quoting when I called them the round things. The round things. Oh, I love the round things. What are the round things for? Because yeah, the
oh,
coral interior does not have roundels, at least not in the same way.
mhm.
It has something that looks similar to them, but yeah, they are not the same thing.
Yeah, whereas the Ninth Doctor one is at least closer. Ninth and 10th.
Well, I agree with you. I like the 12th Doctor's design, or late 11th, early 12th, either way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, my worry is that Russell T will go back to something similar to his early season design with almost a round console. And
We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, well, I at the same time I would also think that Russell will have learned from the issues they had during those, especially those earlier
I,
seasons.
I guess it partially depends on what are the odds that he builds one set for the 60th anniversary, and then a new set for Series 14.
That's true too. Actually, he could be
I
playing.
doubt it.
I imagine if he thinks he can get away with it, reconstructing the 10th Doctor's entire TARDIS before moving on.
He would have to
Well,
be careful of how he shoots it
technically,
because I would assume they're not going to go as full blown as the original set was. But
technically, that set still exists
oh,
because
Oh,
it
on
was
museum
in,
display.
yeah, it was in the Doctor Who. I would not the museum, but the experience thing they had in Cardiff.
if they have the majority of it there, then yeah. If they're careful about how they shoot it, they could still just reuse that.
Although I don't know if they have access to it anymore because
A lot of maybe, yeah.
that's property of the BBC, and productions now being held through Bad Wolf Studios.
That being said, they also have a direct line to the BBC for making this production, so swings and roundabouts. You never know.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's just interesting to know. Just curiosity as where they're going to be going.
Yeah. Just get rid of the crystal set, please. We don't need to come back to that.
Oh yeah, no, that set has been struck.
Thank God.
If anything, it might show up in one of the like Doctor Who experience or anything if there is going to be one that comes back. But
If anything, I'd have a good chuckle if they just push one of those stupid crystals out the door as the TARDIS crashes into something. Because the TARDIS can take a tumble. She's a strong girl. Just
okay, well,
have Tennant push one of the crystals out of the way and just go, I never cared for this design anyway.
so moving on. BBC Audio has announced their Doctor Who releases for the first 6 months of 2023. These are audio remakes of classic episodes, at least most of them. January, we'll see them do the audio version of The Romans, which will be read by Jim Traylor, Jamie Glover, Dan Starkey, Claire Corbett, John Coleshaw, Maureen O'Brien, and Louise Jameson. February, we'll see The Seeds of Death, read by David Troughton. March, we'll see The Time Monster, done by John Coleshaw. April, Planet of Evil, done by Tim Traylor. May will be Warriors of the Deep, reader to be announced. June seems to be a original called The Nightmare Fair. Reader to be announced.
Hmm.
Oh, it looks like the Nightmare Fair was for the season that got canceled in the Sixth Doctor era.
Ah,
Yep. Perry. It would have to either be end of 5th or start of 6th.
Yeah.
Or most of 6th, to be fair.
Other releases for the first half of the year include January, Doctor Who at the BBC, collection of 9 volumes released so far on the series. February, the Renegades collection, a collection of 4 classic TV novelizations featuring Time Lords who fled life on Gallifrey. The Time Meddler, the Deadly Assassin, Shada, and the Mark of the Rani. April will see The Amazing Worlds of Doctor Who. Jeffrey Beavers, Louise Jameson, and Dan Starkey will perform audio based on the book of the same name. And May will be the Alt Reality Collection, which is a list of the Doctor ventures into alternate dimensions. Includes The Mind Robber, The Invisible Enemy, and Warrior's Gate. So that's what BBC Audio has planned. Meanwhile, of course, the Big Finish machine moves on and on. And they've got 3 releases that came out last month. The 8th saw the release of Unit Brave No World Visitants, written by Tajinder Singh Hayer and Lizzie Hopley and Robert Valentine, starring Angela Bruce, Alex Jordan, and Yemisi Oyenlove. The 15th saw the release of Torchwood, The Empire Man, written by Jonathan Barnes and starring Rowena Cooper as Queen Victoria. And the 29th saw Short Trips, The World Tree, by Nick Slowitz, performed by Lisa Bowerman, and that is a free download.
Oh.
Yeah.
Finally, Big Finish has announced a new line that will be coming out later this year. And that is Ronnie Takes on the World. And we should note this is Ronnie Chandra from Sarah Jane Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of the Sarah Jane Adventures spiritual successor we've been talking about wanting.
Yes.
Yep.
Funny, we've been talking about that for like a better part of a couple months,
Yep.
and now all of a sudden BBC, the Big Fish is just like, yes.
As soon as we finish reviewing the Sarah Jane Adventures, they're like, oh yeah, let's do that.
There are some days where you just wonder if serendipity is really on just like critical rolling here, or just someone is sneaking in and listening to show ideas.
That'd be nice.
And then running off with it.
But, sometimes I wonder if Big Finish is sitting there going, so, what part of the Doctor Who universe haven't we exploited yet? Well, sir, we haven't really gotten into the Sarah Jane Adventures. Excellent, Smithers. Bring them out now.
Was it popular? Actually, sir, it was very popular with the kids, and most adults actually found it pretty entertaining and held few punches when it came to telling kids about the horrors of the universe. Excellent. We can really milk this one.
Well, there's one problem with that, sir. It's the lead actress is, well, dead. Were there any others? Well, bring them out. Give them each their own
matter of
series.
fact, sir, we actually hire one of the regulars from the original show. Excellent. She's hired again.
On that note, I'm a little surprised John Leeson doesn't have his own range.
He was a
Give him time.
recurring character, so yeah, give it time. If we keep delving into the Sarah Jane universe, it's very probable. Especially if his character continues to be popular and continues to come back.
Although, on that note, how would we feel if they brought in the cast of K9 to do some audio dramas.
Is
Well-
it better produced our game for the main show?
Yeah, it would probably improve it.
Because you couldn't go wrong if it's gonna up the ante, especially since it's only audio.
All right, let's move on to geek. Let's move on to geek talk now, since we're about an hour in now.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, almost.
just about. So,
All right.
Avatar.
It looks like I'm first. So yeah, so over Christmas, or technically Boxing Day, I was invited to go with a group seeing Avatar 2. This was interesting to me because I have not seen Avatar 1. So I watched it, and I still it described less of the plot of the first movie than I would have thought. But there was still kind of enough to figure out what was going on. Although some of the people I was with had more trouble. Although I think they were mostly people who had trouble keeping up with the dialogue because they were mostly international students and such. But yeah, I think I was not hard. It was not too hard for me to keep track of what was going on. I came out of it at the end kind of feeling like it was an 80s movie made with a 2010s budget, which kind of makes sense. This is James Cameron, 80s action movies. Except, it had the budget for, the first Avatar movie was well known for being this big 3D spectacle and causing this huge trend of 3D.
Or trying to.
Meanwhile, I was watching this and I was like, I don't understand why it's 3D. And I guess, yeah, you don't really need an excuse to make a movie 3D. But I didn't feel like the 3D added anything to the movie. On the other hand, funny enough, since they both involve blue people underwater, Black Panther 2, I feel really could have benefited from 3D in the underwater scenes. But this one, I didn't really think the 3D did anything for the movie. It was just kind of there. If anything, it made it look more fake because it made it look like there was like 3 different layers of 2D images. Whereas if it wasn't 3D, I would have just felt like I was watching, a regular movie.
So you're watching a Viewmaster.
Kind of. But yeah, it was in terms of the plot and the way the characters were, it felt kind of old fashioned, like it's all about, it yeah, it's the boys are the need to carry out the grudge and fight. There's they're fighting against a bunch of Marines, so you got the big macho thing there. The one woman who's an actual fighter is referred to as like crazy and all these other derogatives, and then for some reason the daughter just develops like Aquaman powers, which I think people are basically tying and saying, is this the whole like mystic savage trope, which it kind of is considering the context, but it kind of isn't. I disagree about this being a white savior film because it's more like a grudge match between the Marines and this one family. It doesn't really, it involves the rest of the planet, but it doesn't because it's really just about the grudge between the characters from movie 1. It's an all right movie. I wouldn't rush out to see it. I don't think it really breaks any ground. Some people disagree. The people that invited me were like, "Oh, you're going to see it for the 4th time." But that was also somebody who really loved the first Avatar movie. So if you really love the first Avatar movie, this is probably something you want to see. I personally would say, get it, get it cheap or watch it when it comes to streaming. It didn't really seem to break any ground for me, but it wasn't like a bad experience either. It just kind of, middle of the road. It was enjoyable for what it was, but nothing special.
Okay.
On to Top Gun.
All right.
Mhm.
So I had
Speaking
a
of
period
action
of
movie
time
sequels,
over Christmas where I was quarantined with infectious disease. So I also noticed that during that time, Paramount Plus got a hold of Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to probably one of the most well-known 80s action movies. Um, in the movie, Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, is had his ups and downs in the military and is now working as a test pilot. His project is canceled, and he is transferred to teach at Top Gun, where he is basically supposed to train a specialty crew for what is virtually a suicide mission. It's a bombing run against a near impossible target. Maverick is a little concerned because one of the pilots that are in this training course is the son of his old radar operator, Goose, from the first movie, who goes by the call sign Rooster. And there's also this, array of various other characters that fill up the training class. So he is forced to train these people while dealing with the fact that he's not on good speaking terms with Rooster because he apparently denied his entry into the Navy for originally. And so eventually you see them all trying to work through that, get ready for this mission. And I'm not going to reveal, all the little twists and turns, but there's some twists and turns very similar to the first movie. Personally, I don't think this quite captures the original movie in its feeling, but it comes close. You are at least paying attention to the movie at all times and enjoying yourself most of the other times. There's a lot of F-18 combat, which for the planophile is going to be interesting enough. And yeah, it was enjoyable. Unless if you're not a big fan of the original Top Gun, I wouldn't watch this. But if you are,
and let's be fair, there's quite a few of them still out there.
What's that?
I'm a little surprised just because when this was in theaters, it seemed like people were talking about it as the best, like as if it were one of the best movies of all time, including people who had never seen the original.
I honestly don't think so. And I mean, this is my opinion.
Right.
I think the original has a little more zing to it.
Okay.
And is a little smoother. Some of the transitions in this movie are a little awkward. Like, for instance, the very start of the movie, it starts showing planes taking off and landing on an aircraft carrier like they did in the first movie. Yet that has absolutely nothing to bear with the plot. I'm like, you just did that so you could play Highway to the Danger Zone again, didn't you? And I thought that was kind of unnecessary.
Okay.
But like I said, it's mostly enjoyable. It's nice to see where the character of Maverick went. But some of it I think is a little excuse me, a little too contrived, as it's a good, what, 30 years later, 25, 30 years later, and he's still plagued by the ghost of Goose. You would have thought he would have dealt with that by now. I'm just saying.
You would have thought there would be at least some sort of coming ahead of it by now, yeah.
People in movie sequels never deal with anything.
They run away from
Doesn't
it and
mean,
hide it with shame.
it doesn't mean you don't think they should.
Right, right.
Mhm.
It's like, I thought you dealt with this at the end of the first movie.
No,
Now you,
if anything, that's usually my criticism of why a sequel shouldn't have been made. So,
Alrighty.
and I mean, I know it's mostly he's dealing with his son, but there's still times where Maverick just like, talk to me, Goose. It's like, oh my God, he's going full Harlock. He's talking to the ghosts of his dead friends. This is not good.
mhm.
But no, it's other than that, it's an enjoyable movie. It's nice if you like plane combat. This is really nice. And yes, there's even a sequence where you once again see Maverick in an F-14. I'm not going to spoil the reason behind it, but it's there.
Alrighty. Is that it?
And that's it to the review of Shame.
Yeah, to the review of Shame, which is my review of Shame. So, let me get in here and let me scroll up. Many moons ago and big paragraphs later. So, Dream Eaters. For my review, the good thing about Dream Eaters, outside of a few creatures... Wait, yeah, Dream Eaters. Outside of a few creatures, one of the four big issues has been monster costuming. At least this week, you can blame it on on it's being... Okay, I'm trying to read what I originally wrote, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm saying, and I'm butchering it badly for some reason. Good thing. Outside of a few creatures, one of the big issues has been monster costuming for the show. This week's for Dream Eaters, you can at least blame it on that's what the character had around them, as the monster of the week didn't actually have a physical form of its own, and just took control of a person and then used what they had around them and became the air quotes avatar of the Dream Eater. Overall, bad thing. The rules on being woken up are so all over the place. Alarm clocks work some of the time. Other people could be just pushed and nothing happens. One person got pinched in the dream and legitimately woke up instantly, and then helps to save the day. So, the heck. They're more all over the place than any of the theories on how to wake people up in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Best moment. Oh, the clown dreams. For anyone who is a air quotes fan of the Killer Clowns movies, it does feel like something that people would normally be scared of, and is at the very least a fever dream, if not legitimate nightmare fuel. Worst moment. Georgie fakes out her mom in the dream with an obviously fake tattoo and then pinches her awake somehow within the dream. And then if that isn't enough, her mom still thinks the tattoo is real despite having literally knowing and understanding that she woke up from a dream and is coming after her still sleeping daughter. Just kind of jumps a lot of logic. And overall...
I think the tattoo was somebody's favorite scene.
I mean, it's good as a joke, but the continuation of the scene where she still thinks the tattoo's real after seeing it only in a dream is like, what? It was obviously there to shock you. It wasn't the real, for crying out loud. But anyway, overall thoughts. Overall, again, the show has really good ideas, but feels like it lacks in execution. That said, this has been one of the slightly better ones. A bit of a rewrite or a few fixes, and this could have been a much higher score. And I believe, yes, I gave it a 3.5.
3.5.
Mm-hmm.
This will move it from is the high score of this, taking it from a 217 average to a 2.5 average.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we labeled this one with 8.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I passed through it pretty quickly, but there's some legitimate issues to be had there with what you and I said. It's like, what is any of the logic in here?
That will move it from 424 to 423 in our rankings.
424 to 423?
Yep.
Woo, a jump of one
So
spot.
it felt like a big jump, but I guess not so big a
Nope.
jump.
Not really. That's
Not
still a
down
basement
there in the
dweller.
cellar dwellers.
It's so light and airy up here, I could barely make out the edges of your faces.
All right. So that takes us to today's episode summary.
Dun dun
Yes.
dun. Which I
Let me
believe is
pull up
probably
my
going to be me
notes for
because I'm the
that.
one the most behind on summaries, I believe.
Nope, this week it is me.
Oh, okay.
But I'm ready when you're ready to give a countdown.
All right, back over to here then. Stopwatch ready, and so I guess countdown 3, 2, 1, go.
An alien craft approaches the Earth. Drake plans to shoot it out of the sky, but it engages a cloaking device and avoids the attack. 2 aliens beam down from the ship to where Starkey, Georgie, and K9 are looking at stars, and the aliens begin to worship K9 as an ancient liberator. They are called Anubians, and they are dressed in ancient Egyptian clothing for some reason. They say that K9 saved their ancestors from slavery, and the 2 Anubians are named Nehetka and Geb. The next morning, the 3 kids... Oh, I think I skipped a bunch of scenes in my notes. They come inside, and they show or I guess that's... Never mind, I didn't really skip anything. The next morning, the 3 kids find the professor redecorating his home in Anubian decorations and acting strangely. K9 is focused on the hopes that the Anubians will help him sort out his long-standing memory issues. Darius, who has been mocking K9 and the Anubians the entire episode, says one thing too many, and the professor says that Darius is banished from the house. Meanwhile, the Anubians have been propping up K9 as a god king and persuading him that the department must be destroyed. Georgie and Starkey steal the Anubians' history book at night and find that it is filled with illustrations of the Anubians enslaving other species, using the same headband that the professor is currently wearing. This leads to the 2 Anubians showing up and placing the same mind control devices on the 2 teens. Darius comes back the next morning to attempt to convince K9 that something is wrong, but K9 is too focused on his memory scans to notice anything strange. Geb tries to capture Darius, but is knocked out by his AI car. June comes looking for Georgie, sees everything going on, and immediately calls for backup. However, the Anubians also begin their attack at the same time, and Nehetka places a slave band on June. Seeing the conflict between June and Nehetka, K9 begins to notice things such as the mind control headbands the Anubians are using. Nehetka says that he cannot stop because his people swore never to be slaves, only masters, which K9 points as the wrong message to take from their freedom. Nehetka drains K9's power, and Darius calls in via hologram because he stole the keys to their starship from Geb. He stalls long enough for K9 to reboot, which puts them in a position to negotiate the Anubians' peaceful departure from Earth. The end.
The end. So that was 2 minutes, and I'm going to say 57 seconds.
Right. Which, yeah, I stumbled a bit there because I guess there's a long scene where I summed up in one sentence, and I thought I had skipped that scene.
Okay. So, what do we like about this episode, Matt?
Oh, go back to my notes here. Scroll up. Good thing. If you watch carefully when they're doing the whole history book thing, you can actually see not only a few of the good aliens from the show's past episodes, but also see a few, finally, Doctor Who references, including Sea Devils. Of course, no names are given, just general lookalikes for these other Doctor Who alien species.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bill?
So what I liked is that there was something for everyone to do. The Professor, K9, June, Drake, Darius, everyone had a unique role in the story, and nobody felt superfluous, which I know there have definitely been times in the past where that was a criticism against K9 episodes, so I like that this one, even though it had a relatively large cast, everybody was doing something unique and different from each other.
Okay. So, what I liked is that K9 tends to be the hero of the series, and as such, he seems to be the one that always has the solution. I like the fact that he was part of the causing part of the problem, and was rather oblivious. Nice to know that your characters aren't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What we disliked.
Going back to
Matt.
the first, I assume. Yep. Let's see, have a look. See here. Bad thing. The Nubians are a good idea, but man, the headdress needs to be worked on. The rest of the costume looks nice and all, but the head moves are stiffer than Michael Keaton in the original Batman, and the mouth's muzzles need some reworking. Not to mention might be part of that might also be part of the headdress movement issue.
Well, I actually thought they looked fairly decent considering the budget of the show.
They looked all right. Again, I have more of an issue with the muzzles because it doesn't quite look like Anubis as far as I'm aware. I thought Anubis was more of a proper dog, so the snouts should be sticking out, not down. But that being said, I did notice there was quite a few times where they would try to be doing something, especially at the end with the climactic battles and energy beams shooting off, where you can see where they're supposed to be like lurching forward with one arm and watching the target that they're trying to hit, but then you can immediately see that they're looking away from their target because they can't turn their head.
Yeah, but no, what I mean is that people spent more money on their costumes at GeekCon than the entire budget of the show.
Yeah, it's still bad.
I was just wondering why the costumes were covered in Egyptian imagery, but they never mention any history with the Earth in any way.
They're Nubians. That's all they need. Hand wave.
Yeah, I'm kind of going to feed off of Bill's on this. The Nubians were a real waste of potential.
Mm-hmm.
because not only that, but remember, you have Set and Sutek and the Doctor Who mythos.
Yeah.
And while you couldn't deal with him directly, you would have thought there would have been a way to squeak through a reference that, oh, maybe they were the same species or something.
Or a species that survived on one of their enslaved planets or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
They probably have living servants of some kind, too.
And it would have been a nice shout-out continuity thing. But instead, they're just these J-random aliens that sound like Egyptians. Like, guys, you could have done better than that.
Are we sure at this point they could have done better? I start to question.
I mean, if they had access to a high school theater department, well, maybe they didn't have the budget of a high school theater department.
If only.
They had more than a high school theater department. They had access to the theater department at the University of Wallamaloo, where everybody's named Bruce and drinks Fosters.
I don't think these people had enough budget to buy a full costume from Party City. Randy got that one. All right.
So my bad aspect of the episode overall is this is a common refrain for K9 episodes. Darius is annoying and he needs to learn how to read a fucking room. Stop taunting the powerful aliens that hate you in the first fucking scene, at least until you know whether or not they're enemies.
Yeah.
And he just keeps doing it, even at, like,
it seems to be his MO is I'm Darius, I'm a smartass.
Dumbass. More.
And, it would have been nice to see him trying, where, he would say something and then you'd see him slap his mouth closed. But,
But to quote one of the Australian YouTubers I watch, absolute papega. Absolute idiot.
Anyway, favorite scenes, Matt.
Favorite scenes. Where was it? Best moment. Maria Dornell. One time that car has actually become useful in the show. I don't think they even drive it around, do they?
It's been seen a little bit, but not often.
Not very often at all.
On screen, do they drive? I'm not sure.
No, I guarantee you they have not driven on screen. I'm just wondering if we've ever actually seen it pull up to a location, which, as far as I'm aware, they haven't.
Because they don't have the budget for a working car.
We can just swing the doors on it. Anything else? No. All right, get the string.
Okay.
So this is the reason I couldn't just say Darius completely as the bad thing is my favorite scene was Darius, and I'm not sure if Georgie was intentionally doing this, so I put Georgie with a question mark, stalling for K9 to get his power back with Nehetka. That felt like a very Doctor Who thing to do, which is a massive success for this series.
Yes.
Although, it wasn't quite as Doctor Who as stalling them with an explosive cookie.
Or Jamie Dodger.
Yeah, I was like, is Jamie Dodger the name? I'm not going to say it out loud because I might be wrong.
Jamie Dodger.
But, yes.
Jamie Dodger.
As I reach from my bag, diverting their attention with lethal jelly baby.
Jammy Dodger is correct.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard of them on Doctor Who. That's all I know about them.
Yep. It's been a while, and I was doubting myself because I was like, what is it dodging?
And
That's
mind
neither
you,
here nor there.
a Jammy Dodger is really just a shortcake cookie stacked like an Oreo. Only instead of cream filling, it's got jam in the middle.
Okay.
And sometimes the center of it has a little hole in it. So
I've had
the
worse
jam.
cookies.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be a reasonable cookie.
Yeah, I've seen them here. Like we have them here, but we call them by another name. Linzer cookies.
Oh.
And they're popular around Christmas.
Fair enough.
And apparently in Britain, they're popular year round.
I miss chocolate oranges.
I miss peanut butter cookies. Really, I honestly want to. I want to get a stove. One of the first thing I'm going to do is make a batch of peanut butter cookies. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to pass on favorite thing. Let's go to least favorite.
Or least favorite moment?
Yes.
Worst moment. Esther starts acting weird from the moment one, and then with all the headgear on, and then no one blinks an eye until it's way too late. Not even K9. Well, the K9 was like being pseudo brainwashed into constantly focusing on his lost memories too. And but yeah, hand wavy writing, and even the kids should have known and better and seen through it a lot sooner.
Yeah, you just took mine. Phil?
All right. So I try not to double dip on the same topic for the bad and the least favorite, but I had to for this one. The Anubians have just shown themselves to have a temper. They're talking about how much they love K9, and Darius starts mocking the Anubians and K9 out of the blue for no good reason, forgetting that K9 looked exactly like that picture in episode 1 in the process.
Yeah, that bothered me too.
Yeah.
Like you just want to you just want to punch him in the mouth.
The boy really does seem to have like zero filter.
Excuse me, Darius, you know that hole in your face? The one you put cake in.
Stuff some more
Shut
cake
it.
in it.
I was half expecting them to try to vaporize him during that scene.
It looked like they were about to.
And you noticed that they kept just getting angrier and angrier every time he spoke.
You
You would have thought that would have been a shutting up now.
Right. Or at least, or even that somebody else would react to it, and they never do.
You know, somebody else could have smacked him in the chest or something. But no. Just open season on Darius being a turd. Okay.
To quote Halloween, you know you're going to get us in a lot of trouble one of these days.
Unfortunately, that was mine, so I'm passing again. But let's move on to final thoughts.
It's just such a big problem, but yeah. So overall thoughts? Let's see here. Bringing up K9's past is a good idea. Would have led to eventually crossing over into the main Who in time and budget would allow. But again, everything undercut by the shaky costuming and lackluster writing. Just this episode in a nutshell. There's some good ideas where this could go, but yeah, just everything is undercut by the execution one way or another.
All done?
Yep.
So this episode feels to me like it's just it's very hard to have a pacing issue in a 20-minute episode. And yet in this episode it just feels like they immediately get to the point where people should be figuring out what's going on, and they drag it out as long as physically possible because there's not enough of a story here. It's just kind of it's like they rush to get to Act 2. They drag their feet through 3/4 of the episode without making much progress, and then they jump straight, and then they get to Act 3. Act 3 was great. The whole, or at least, it was decent. It had the whole stalling and, felt very Doctor Who there. But everything before that was just kind of dragging, and it could have used another plot point or something to keep things going, rather than just kind of cycling on that whole, oh, something's going on, and then enslaving everybody. So yeah, not the best, pretty much in the mediocre range, and that's it.
All right.
Yep, Rand.
So this had a potential. I've said this before. This would have had a potential to be a very good episode, but the writer was not capable of writing it. There are so many more ways I could have done this within the half-hour format. Reasons for doing this, what have you. And no, it's just not decent. I can forgive the special effects, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really low budget show.
This is the same writer as Dream Eaters, by the way.
Yeah, and I wasn't fond of Dream Eaters. So again, I kind of feel like this one, he has a good concept, but his concept is beyond his skills as a writer. So it kind of loses stuff.
Where's the script editor?
This is one of those things where, had this been a classic Doctor Who episode, they would have handed the entire script to the script editor, who would have rewritten it almost from page 1 onwards.
Kept the basic ideas and then rewrote it to be sensible.
Yeah. And it really needs that, because this is, other than that, it's just kind of waste. I mean, this is obviously a filler episode. And it really doesn't do anything. It doesn't pop, doesn't snap, doesn't really stand out in any way other than, well, that was kind of boring. So I can't rate it that high. Speaking of which, let's rate this son of a bitch. Okay, Matt.
In hindsight, I see my past self was being very generous about this episode. I'm bringing it down a notch. Because the writing was garbage, the suits didn't work, and honestly, the last act was the only good thing about it. So honestly, there's just so much good potential wasted. 2 out of 5.
2. Bill.
2.5. I'm sorry.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah, entire score lower.
Yeah, there's enough things I'm ambivalent about to keep it from being that low for me. Also, I forgot to mention I really liked the like drawn or painted part of the book. So I'm going to say 3.0.
And I'm with Bill on this. I'm giving it a flat 3 for that happened.
Wow, I was originally at 3, and I'm like, high side. I don't care for this even less than middle of the road.
Well, like I said, unlike you, I can forgive the bad costuming because of the show's budget.
I'm noticing the trend is that when Matt's not here for the episode, he's the highest rating, and when he is here for the episode, he's not.
Uh,
Because
well,
otherwise, yeah, if I was harshing it for the costume, it would have been down in the 2.5
well,
too.
it's not even just the costume. Believe me, the costumes are an issue. When you can't turn your head to literally shoot the ray weapon at your enemy, you have some effing huge issues that were
Hey.
already solved 3-4 decades ago.
It worked for Batman.
Again, Batman could actually turn his head more than these guys could.
I say that tongue in cheek, but
But also, again, the writing was even worse than the last one too. So I'm like, no, I was going lower, but I need to go even lower.
All right, so this one scores a 2.83, which on our rankings will put it at still not very high.
No.
We'll put it at 391
Out of how many?
of 439 things reviewed.
Welcome, basement dweller.
all right.
It is
For those listening, oh sorry, I forgot that part. Go ahead.
on par with nothing. Better than Torchwood Greeks bearing gifts.
Oof.
And not as good as Class Everybody Loves Reagan.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a Big Finish. Never mind. That doesn't count.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Class and I'm like, It's not as good as Torchwood Something Borrowed or Torchwood Combat.
Ouch.
Or Sarah Jane Adventures Secrets of the Stars. So there you go. 391 out of 438 things reviewed. That is all we have to say about Curse of Anubis. Go ahead,
Right.
Bill.
This is the part where those listening, please let us know in the comments, what did you think of this week's episode? If you've watched it, don't forget to like the video since you've listened this far. And make sure to subscribe on YouTube to get our exports, I want to say every week, every time we stream. Or follow us on Twitch to get notified when we stream.
That being said, we have a higher likelihood of getting every week for the next couple weeks at least.
Yep.
Next week, we will continue with more K9 when we review K9, Ouroboros, written by Deborah Parsons. Hey, that's somebody new. And starring Philippa Coulthard as Georgie Turner, Keegan Joyce as Starkey, Daniel Weber as Darius Pike, Robert Maloney as Professor Alistair Griffin, and John Leeson as the voice of K9. See you next time.
Good night.